It's Wednesday, September 8th, and it's time for your Barbados Today Morning News Update. More stringent measures are now in place to speed up and improve the testing process at the island's sole public laboratory. Word of this from Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George, who also reported a significant breakthrough in a backlog of COVID-19 samples. Dr. George said that a backlog has not been completely cleared, but was being addressed.
We had a bit of backlog in the lab. I'm pleased to report that while it has not been completely resolved, we're certainly in a much better place. There are several steps which we have to put quality control measures on each of those steps, because if just one step there's an issue, you tend to get trickle-down effect. So it's a full operation that you don't just take a sample and send it to the lab. There are so many steps in between. And what we have done is tease out those steps and we ensure that the systems and logistics, we ensure that timely delivery, but there's been significant improvement. So we went from over 900 cases during last week, so now we are down to just over 100 cases, and we intend to wrestle that to the ground.
Dr. George also announced that with the privately run testing lab at the Crane Resort in St. Philip already in operation, the country will soon have another option to help with testing demands.
Bayview should come online hopefully next week, and that will give persons further options with respect to testing.
Member of Parliament for St. Lucia, Peter Phillips, says he's always ready to serve Barbados. The declaration follows the announcement by the Cabinet Office that he had been moved from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to the Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance. Minister Phillips tells Barbados Today he is happy to serve in whatever capacity in Cabinet.
As you would be well aware, those of us who serve in Cabinet do so at the pleasure of the Prime Minister. It is obviously within her right and her judgment how she would want to constitute her Cabinet, whether it is rearranging or reassigning of any minister who serves within that. What I would say is that I am very happy to be part of the Cabinet. I'm happy to be serving in whichever capacity I'm asked to for the benefit of the people of Barbados. There's lots of work to be done in the Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, and I'm very glad to join the team there to ensure that Barbadians benefit from the housing program which government would bring to the table.
The combined efforts of students, teachers and the Ministry of Education have been hailed as the reasons behind this year's successful results in the Barbados Secondary School Entrance Examination. During Monday's announcement of the 2021 exam results, Minister of Education Santia Bradshaw said, despite the many setbacks faced by students setting the exam, there was no significant difference in their performance in mathematics and English when compared to the previous 2 years. Speaking to Barbados Today, General Secretary of the Barbados Union of Teachers Herbert Gittins said, even though it had been a challenging year, teachers had worked tirelessly to ensure students were properly prepared for the exam. Meanwhile, President of the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union, Mary Redmond, said both students and teachers had worked extremely hard and credited the ministry for its decision to give students additional time to prepare.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
The news from the region. The 56-year-old woman who is alleged to have wounded St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves during a protest in the capital back in August is expected to appear in court on Wednesday on another charge. Anna-Mae Lewis, a vendor, is now facing the charge of throwing missiles. The new charge comes as the prosecution failed to comply with the court's order to disclose to the defense by August 31st the evidence against Lewis in connection with the charge that she unlawfully and maliciously wounded the Prime Minister on August 5th. Over in St. Lucia, the media fraternity has been plunged into mourning following the death of a veteran broadcast journalist, Valerie Albert Février, on Tuesday. More from HTS News Force.
It is with deep sadness that we announce the passing earlier Tuesday of our program director, Valerie Albert Février. Miss Albert, as she was affectionately called, succumbed on Tuesday after a 6-week battle with an infection. Valerie Albert Février was one of the pillars of our modern media landscape. Her career began as a radio announcer at Radio St. Lucia in the 1980s. She is a founding member of Helen Television System Radio 100 and functioned as program director here at HTS for the past 35 years. She helped shape the careers of many young persons on the local and international media landscape. A passion of hers was supporting local charitable organizations. She leaves to mourn her husband and managing director of Helen Television System, Linford Février, as well as one son, Alan Février, sister Gemma, the HTS directors, and the entire staff.
And finally, on the international front, the humanitarian side of the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan is staying put and will continue to do its work there. That's according to Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator Martin Griffiths. He made the disclosure on Tuesday as he spoke to reporters following a visit to Kabul on the weekend, where he met with officials as well as the leadership of the Taliban to discuss humanitarian issues.
Nearly half of the population are in need of humanitarian assistance. There are 18 million people, generally speaking, with some kind of humanitarian protections assistance. 14 million need food, 9 million need access to water, 600,000 have been internally displaced this year alone, and 5 million people who remain displaced from years. The humanitarian side of UNAMA isn't going anywhere. It's going to stay there and do its job, and its job is going to expand. So for us, what's needed is to get that airlift in from Pakistan or wherever so that we can rotate the humanitarian staff in and out and extend them back into the provinces, the hubs where they were before this most recent crisis, so that they can stay and deliver as.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.